Thank you very much. That was very, whoa. I get emotional when I hear good words and, empowerment, and to see it come from all quarters. I literally have goosebumps right now. So, Nenda, Navo Hested, all my relatives. Na Databi Navat, Nahayashiv. I'm called Blue Teepee Woman. I am Tatista. Na Tatista. I am Northern Cheyenne. I'd like to thank the original inhabitants of this land, the ancestors. I would like to thank the elders, the grandmothers and the grandfathers. I'd like to thank Jack, the Reading Manchuria, all the peoples that are here. I thank you so very much for coming. It enlightens me, it empowers me, it gives me strength. We're in a really confused world. I call it an interpretive paradox. Because of the interpretive paradox, you kind of choose what you want to say. And since I think it was 1934, so we've had this illusion that Columbus discovered America. They taught that to me in school. They handed me 3 sheets of paper with 3 ships on it. He said, here, color these. Diligently, I colored them. I stayed inside the lines. Not once did they tell me that Columbus was a murderer, that he sold 9-year-old girls to his men, who raped and used them any way they chose. Not once did they tell me that while I was coloring inside their sheets of paper. It didn't happen just 1 year. It happened throughout my education. So, what do I do? I go, well, I don't want my grandson doing that. My grandson comes to me and goes, Grandma, what's this Columbus guy anyway? I'm like, he's kind of a knothead grandson. But I don't want to talk bad words. I want to educate my grandson. I want to help educate the people to get away from the interpretive paradox of history, where we are taught that Columbus discovered America, that Columbus was a good guy. I want to correct it through educational manifestation. So I'm here to help us learn, to share our knowledge with you, how to change, how to put Columbus Day way over there in the darkness and the shadows, and to bring forth Indigenous Peoples Day on deck, not just here in Reading, but across the nations, across the globe. We need all people in on this. We need people to unify, to unite, so that we have this unified healing. And like my niece says, we must not be betrothed to anger. We must learn how to forgive and move forward in a good way. So thanks to Mark, he says, Marsh, why don't you come over and say a few words? And I'm like, I have more than a few words to say about this. I want to sit down and have a conversation. Now you have your Indigenous Peoples Day community. You know each other. You know who each is and what they do. How to empower that. How to use that. Utility, not use. Utility. Utilize it. So now you have it. You know each other, okay? When you're on the street, don't walk by and not say hi. Look at each other. If you're not of the culture that looks each other in the eye, at least say hello. Seek people out. Create a unity. It's very important that you stay cohesive throughout this. Okay, so a little bit about me. I think you read the poster. I teach at Montana State University, Native American Studies. I was mad for a long time. I might still be a little bit mad. But the thing is that I'm using my anger constructively. I'm strategizing. I'm like, how do I do this? Well, let's start by just making this day of Christofaro go away. Because every year it was just like it punched in the side for me. Every year, boom, second Monday. Well, they said, well, how come you want to change that? It means nothing. This is symbolic. I said, is this symbolic to you? I said, because it's not symbolic to me. Every year, the second Monday of October, I get slapped right in the face. I get slapped hard. Not just that, but my communities do too. Like, I'm not going to deal with the symbolic. Meaning, if you're going to use symbology in my world, then by God, make it active. If you want to use symbology in my world, then make it active. Make it, don't just give me those 3 sheets of paper. Make it active. Make it something that you can atone for. Because we're all going to have to atone for this shortly. It's coming. We're already on the horizon, as my niece says. It's on the horizon. So the first thing that we did is I had this anchor, right? And I called my friend, Marsha, Extreme History Project. I thought she can't be too bad. Her name is Marsha. We called ourselves Marsha Squared. It's cool. So what we did is I put out this thing on Twitter, Facebook, and my Gmail. I said, who's interested in changing this silly Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day and have a recognition of rights, of untruths, discovered and rectified? I said, who's interested in that? Nobody. Nobody contacted me. I'm like, okay, let's try this again. So this time I put up flyers. I made 100 flyers. I went around to my community. I called Indian country. I called every tribe in Montana. I said, I want to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, second Monday of each October. They said, how come? We have bigger things to fry. We have bigger things to do. I said, but I'm going to tell you something. When I was 5 years old, I learned Christopher Columbus was a hero. I didn't learn that my chiefs were heroes in school. I learned that Christofaro was a hero. No, Let me tell you why that matters so much right now. Because each and every one of us in this room have historical trauma. Each and every one of us have epigenetic stressors that are related to our ancestors that we must learn how to deal with in a good way. And one of the ways we're going to do this is we're going to get rid of Columbus Day worldwide. We're going to do this. No matter how long it takes, how many it takes, whatever, we're going to do this. So I notified people. And then I got a few trickles in. And I thought, that's not good enough. So I go to the city of Bozeman. I go straight to the mayor. I said, hey, I want to change Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day. He said, that's a great idea. But I'm not mayor yet. I'm only the deputy mayor. I said, that's cool. When are you mayor? He said, in January. I said, I can wait. We can wait. Let's build forces until then. So that's what we did. We started building our force. We had a team of 6 people. We made flyers. That team made flyers, put them around Bozeman, contacted their tribes. We went to the American Indian Councils. We called our tribes. Everyone called their tribes. As soon as we had one person on board, whether it was non-native or native, we called people in power. So here we have the mayor of Bozeman. I'm like, cool, it's political. I'll take it. We'll take it. But the best part is that he introduced us to his wife. And when he introduced us to his wife, I knew that we had him. I did. I'm not gonna lie. So then after that was that we said, well, okay, we'll wait till you're mayor. He said, well, I'm sure we can get it passed, but I want to have a unanimous vote. I want my council to vote unanimously on it. And one of the team members, by now built to about 18 people, said, why does it have to be unanimous? Why just get it passed? He said, well, I'd like it unanimous because it shows that the community supported it 100%. I said, I'll take an uneven vote. I just need it passed. I'm not particular. Just pass the damn thing, would you? Quote, unquote, right? I'm thinking, I'm talking to the mayor of Bozeman. Oh my God, did I just cuss him out? Yes, I did. That's why you have to get stern. You have to be stern and passionate about this. You must believe that you are in the right, because you are. You're in the right about this. When you're talking to somebody, anybody on the street, you own this knowledge that Christopher Columbus Day is no more. Never had a right to be there. Never, ever. You believe that with that passion. You communicated that passion. But like I say, once I had the mayor's wife, I knew it was a good one because she brought us all chocolate chip cookies. Every meeting. From there until break, because we teach at Montana State, I waited until Christmas break. We started this in November. 6 weeks time, we amassed about 80 people ready to rock and roll. So that when Christmas came through, we set out kiosks, information kiosks on the Christmas stroll, art walks, informing people, getting signatures, because the mayor says, give me about 600 signatures. I said, well, we can do better than that. And we did. We collected thousands. But he only wanted 600. I said, okay, that's cool. I'm going to give him 600. I kept the rest of the information. It's in our database, not his. But that's okay. So the first thing we did, is we contacted his councilmen. We talked to them. Do you know what it's like to have 80 people, at least 80 people, come up and knock on your door, wait for you after council, and say, hey, I just want to talk to you for a minute about Indigenous People Day. And then they're ready to go home for supper after that, right? So they take that home to them, they take that home. They're having supper late, very late, because, people are standing in line to talk to them. But that's what we did. We talked to their executive levels. That's just one thing. That's how we addressed the Bozeman community, the township itself. The strategy always was to keep Montana State University and Bozeman community separate, because they're two powerful entities. One has outlying and incoming international different border towns, and the town of community Bozeman. So we ran two different campaigns. So the Bozeman campaign, it had its Christmas stroll, garnered its thousands and thousands of signatures. That one looked like a go. That was in January. By now the mayor is getting to be mayor, right? It's also his birthday. I invite everybody. Not my right, but I invited everybody. So then I go to my dean and I said, hey, Walter. And Walter was already on board. I said, how do you think about MSU? He said, it's a good idea, let's do it. But you're going to meet a lot of conflict. You're going to meet a lot of barriers. I said, we're used to that, aren't we? We're used to jumping over barriers, jumping through hoops. We've been doing it all our lives. He said, okay, go for it. I thought, well, how to do that? So this time, students, Native American students, they jumped on board. American Indian Councils, they jumped on board. Not just made flyers, but they went to each classroom. They would make appointments in classrooms. Can I speak in your classroom? I want to just say a few words about why we changed Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day. How can you say no to a student that just wants to, enact the right to speak? They pay money to be there, right? So we had hundreds of students join us. Cohesive 8, I call them. They went to the Associated Students of Montana State University, and they petitioned. Associated Students of Montana State University unanimously voted in to support Indigenous People Day at Montana State. Then we went to the faculty. Faculty Senate. Faculty Senate said, oh, gosh, we think it's admirable, interpret a paradox and all, that you want to correct education. But, oh, geez, we might, some people might be pissed off. said, really? I've been living there for about 79 years. Give me those 79 years, and then we'll talk at a table again about who's being pissed off here. And he goes, well, she goes, well, I'll put it to the vote to the faculty. Yes. Well, faculty didn't want to pass it. Faculty had a dissenting vote. It was not unanimous. That was okay. So then we went to the staff. Throughout Montana State University, we went through at least 6 different meetings. And then I said, okay, it's time to hit the president. Let's hit President Cruzado up. Went into President Cruzado, and she said, oh, by means, yes, let's do this. And it gives me goosebumps to this day. It's so empowering, not because she's a person of color or anything, but that she wanted to correct the education, the interpretive paradox of this. I said, wow, this is awesome. I said, well, thinking that we would run it like the community Bozeman and get signatures, petition sheets. She said, no, this is a campus community. Let's just run it by all the faculty, by all the SMC money. And I said, oh, wait, we already done that. We went empowered. She said, oh, you have? And I said, yes, we have. We have this, we have that. We have these things covered. And she goes, oh, okay, well then. And I said, here's our petition sheets. And she goes, no, we're not running petitions. We're just going to pass it at executive levels. I was like, wow. And then she did. She called the Montana State University system, a meeting of all of the powers that be in the state of Montana in education, and said, by the way, we have an organization here, Indigenous Peoples Day, and they would like to implement that the second Monday of October. Who all in vote? Hands shut up. All of them shut up, except this lady over here from Faculty Senate. Said, no, I just can't do that. I mean, it's just changing one holiday to the next. And I looked around at her, and I really wanted to speak to her, and I'm like, just hold your tongue. I don't need a unanimous vote. I just need this to pass. So that's what we did. It passed. So you don't necessarily need everybody agree with you, is my point. You just need it to pass. You need to talk to people in executive levels. Create your unity. Don't hesitate, because you're speaking the truth. You're correcting history. You're atoning for the educational process that said, Marsha, Faye, color these 3 pictures, because Columbus is a hero. So, like my niece says, to correct this, we're dealing with historical trauma. We're going to go through this. We're going to start at day 1. And we're going to go through this one by one. And we're going to hold people to the untruths of history. We're going to correct this. So with that, any questions? I don't think I missed too much. I kind of whizzed through that because we got like 8 o'clock to be out of here. So any questions?
So I'm just curious, getting the assistance, did you have a plan for dealing with that, or did you have talking points? How did you just go about educating your own group?
Well, I had fact sheets. It's not too hard to make a fact sheet about Christopher Columbus. You can go to any website and just pick out 6 of them and have a truth or false, Winner gets, who gets them all right wins the prize. It could be a free slice of pizza. You get motivation. You have a reward system. People want to be recognized for that. So that's what, anytime, like even with the community, when they're standing out there. And let me tell you, Montana gets cold during Christmas time. There's about 20 below out there. There was 80 people out there, at least 80 people out there signing our petitions, because that's what the mayor wanted.
Would you say Bozeman is rather conservative city?
Let me say Bozeman is rather a conservative city. Bozeman's redneck. But what Bozeman is it's the 13th most educated town in the United States. It's in the top 20. This is something that you in Reading, and I tried to look it up before I got here, but my internet was running slow. I wanted to see where Reading was located, what your community is, because each one of you are going to go back to your communities and you're going to start this awesome campaign to remove Columbus Day from the books. And the first thing you want to do is you want to talk about how educated. As if you come from a race paradigm, I'm black, I'm red, I'm white, I'm green. You're going to hit barrier after barrier. You're going to separate it. If you come at it from an educational viewpoint, people are going to go, oh, right, let's correct the untruths of education. You're hitting them where it really matters, and that's in their head. That's where it's going to hit first. As Bozeman, a conservative community, oh yeah, I'm dealing with border town hatred there. By the megatons. I teach 205, Contemporary Issue Native America. I have kids who have written me really foul letters telling me about my Indian heritage. I'm like, thank you. Do you know your heritage? That's the first thing I'm going to ask somebody. If I meet you, I'm going to go, who's your people? I'm not going to know what color you are. Because when I cut myself, I bleed red. What color do you bleed? Red. Well, how many races are there? Human race. And that's where I deal from. Because if you put race in this, you're going to hit barrier after barrier. Go from an educational paradigm, you will pass it. You will. Because nobody wants to be taught incorrect history.
How many cities have adopted the Indigenous Day?
Cities nationwide. I think Bozeman was 14, Boulder was 15. No, Albuquerque was 15, Boulder was 16.
16.
I think around 16, yeah. There's probably more out there. There's Amherst, 17, yeah. So I'd say just around 18 or 19. I'm probably missing a couple in there.
What state has the most native population?
What state has the most native population, guys?
California.
California. I kind of wonder about that because to me, the Navajo nations, you know, they're kind of the largest population. But then they compromise 4 states. So how can you, those borders are sick, aren't they? Because you're talking about a nation, you know, one nation, but you have 4 borders plus. So, yeah. California, I think South Dakota, Alaska. I think Alaska might actually be number 1. Yeah. Mm. Okay. Where?
No, I'm just saying, when you stand there, all I see is this. Just saying, that's all. But your voice is very level. I have the headphones on, now I can see you.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't know what to do with that. I'm like, okay. I move around when I talk. I move around because to
I'm
me.
trying to be very subtle about it.
Okay. So anybody have any else questions?
Yeah. I also am wondering, so did you try to talk to the tribal governments in Montana and have them pass resolutions first? How did that work?
Okay, so I also work with bison, right? I want to introduce bison. We introduce bison to the plains. Right? It's epidemic stressors. It's the Plains Indians, salmon. Right? So what I did last summer is I went into each reservation, right? And I got to know all these people. Right? So I met every tribe, every chairman in the state of Montana tribes. I met every one of them. I had conversation. I got their emails. I got on their Facebook. So when the time comes to notify people, the tribal chairmen, all I did is hand my sheet over to Meg Singer. Say, hey Meg, be sure to follow up with these people. And if they don't answer, then put somebody else in front of that. Because maybe they don't want to talk to that specific person. By the third person, I was like, okay, obvious, I have to call. So I called each tribe, each chairman, and said, hey, are you going to support this? Can we have a resolution? They said, oh, it's you. Oh, it's you. I said, yeah, we had 4 people in front of us. Didn't you hear about us? Oh, yeah. He said, why don't you write something out and we'll sign it? At least 3 people said that, at least 3 tribal chairmen, so that's what we did. But I can tell you at this time that only 2 tribes have sent forth their resolutions to support, only 2. I think that after this, there's a couple of our representatives. I talked to Jason Smith, who's the director of Indian, the Native American liaison to the governor. And then, so when I go back and for our Indigenous Peoples Day, I'm going to ask all the tribal chairs to show up for our Indigenous Peoples Day event and have Jason Smith, who is the governor's liaison for Native American Affairs, speak. And if I don't get that, because I really want to move this toward the state of Montana passing this, right? That's next on my plate. And then the nations, all of them. So I think that's next what I do. And if they don't have the time, make a template. Make a template for them. But above all, just keep on knocking on the door. 4 people down. Wait a minute, oh. Anybody else?
I have a question. Go ahead.
In the context that you're asking people to change their historical belief, that's really difficult in a non-native community because of tradition. That's what they've always known, that's what they've always believed, that's what they've always been told. Is that the greatest resistance that you have to people wanting to change that day?
The greatest resistance we had was, oh goodness, are we going to lose our second day after Thanksgiving holiday? I said, why would you lose that holiday? Well, because we're not having Columbus Day. I said, no, you're having something better. You're having Indigenous Peoples Day. So yes, I met resistance, but it wasn't the hugest. It was people because they're stubborn in their belief systems, true. But we educated them. A lot of people, surprisingly, don't really know about Columbus's atrocities. It's amazing how many people are not educated in that respect. But then they could be like me and handed 3 sheets of paper and told to color and stay in the lines. What you're taught. It's a dualistic paradigm. Here it's black and white. You've been taught to what you think authority, the true authority is. But then you come kind of step over and you go, okay, I've learned this, you've educated me. Now let me form my own thoughts. And a lot of people don't make that next step.
The other part of that is, how do you deal with that resistance to people thinking that we're taking something away from them, rather than educating them to something new, but that we're, okay, here the Indians are taking something else away from us, or laying claim to something else that, that they thought they had for years, but when they find out the truth, it's us taking away something from them. Their sacred cow we're killing is what we're doing.
Yeah, essentially, this is I think it's like Christopher Columbus. Or people say he was Muslim. People say he was from Spain, Portuguese. Like we want to own them that holiday because we feel this real tie with him as Italian people. I'm like, excellent. Feel that tie, but I also need you to understand that what they taught you in school is not correct. And that's where you go every time. Go in education, because like once I said that once you bring up race or taking something away from them, you're going to have a battle. Always go back to the educational, the truth of the education. Be prepared. Know your data. Know your information. Would you introduce yourself?
My name is Winter Fox Frank.
Real close.
My name is Winter Fox Frank. My question is, have you met anyone who, after being educated, either didn't change their mind or whose beliefs became further entrenched? Like maybe they were proud of what he did after you told him or told them.
No.
No?
I don't think. Have you?
I
I don't think once you're
imagine it happening.
once you're educated and once once you understand the untruths of history, realize what they did with their interpretive paradox, right? That you don't go back. In fact, I think your mind blossoms into other untruths, other needs of adjustment.
Or maybe they didn't express it.
That's true, they could. Because I'll tell you what else I did, or we did. Forgive me for saying I was taught by my Southern Oregon University professor to say I. All my life I've said we, because I've always got my ancestors right here. He says, Marsha, who wrote this? I'm like, we did. No, Marsha, you did. I said, well, not really, because but my ancestors are right here. He goes, no. In academia, Marsha, Miss Small, there is I. You wrote it. And I, okay. So I'm always saying I. So forgive me for that. We contacted the media. Hi, Mark. We worked with the Bozeman Chronicle. The Bozeman Chronicle put up a poll. Do you think that it was okay for the city of Bozeman to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day? First day it was 44% no to 48%. Second day it was 45% to 48%. I'm like, oh. So we're hearing some dissent in the community. By the third day, it was like 82% to like 58%. It changed, but it was always with the Indigenous people voting in favor of proclaiming the second Monday each October into Indigenous Peoples Day was the majority. But there's people out there. But if you don't hear their argument, if you don't hear their voice, then you don't have yours. You need to know what their argument is so that when they have it and you're in a room full of people and they say this or that or why they believe in Columbus and why it should not be changed, you want to be right there and step up and go, wait, hold up. If you don't own that knowledge, their argument, then you're going to be really surprised and knocked off your kilter. So having those voices of dissent, it's a good thing. Bring that on. Bring it. Like I told you, you're right. You're correct in this. You're helping adjust the untruths in history. You're helping heal our nations. This is super important. Our epigenetic stressors, our historical trauma, all-time high, social, political, eco, all the way across the board. From Christopher Columbus all up to today, and the lack of voice of Indigenous peoples in executive levels. We need those voices at executive levels all over. So each and every voice counts. But know your argument, know their argument, so you have 360 degrees of information. Yeah?
Another question. In replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day, how are the histories of Black people addressed? Because I feel like a large component of the effects of Columbus is not just on Indian people, but on Black people as well. If you just have an Indigenous Peoples Day and ignore Black history, I feel like you might be doing some damage there as well.
To me, Indigenous people is worldwide, and it's not really a color. It's Indigenous peoples, the original peoples of those lands.
So is that expressed in the Indigenous People Declaration?
I think it is. Because it's like, kind of like we as the people, right? It's not we, the red, the white, the green, the black. Because once you start doing that, you separate your community. You want to unify that community. You want to unify every color there. But what you really want to roll from is who you are as a person. What is your culture? Once you dive into that race card, you're going to hit another argument. Because white is the default color. You're not going to have a black default color. You're not going to have a brown default color. You're going to just be stuck in color. You're not going to adjust the educational reform that we need. That's going to teach my grandson that Christopher Columbus is a murdering person. So if you ask me that Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, or that good one, All Lives Matter, then yeah, I'm going to say, hey, go back to your culture. Remember, that's Indigenous people as a whole. That's what this movement is for and addresses. It's correcting the educational untruths of history. More? No? Did I answer your question? Sometimes I get rambling and I just forget. Yes?
What did financial institutions have to say about this?
What is what?
Financial institutions, banks, they have, they have the holidays. Have they been approached?
Yeah, I work with the state of Montana, so that's kind of the people I'm working with, right? And it's the same thing. You want to take away our Thanksgiving holiday? You want to take away Columbus Day? Because that's what they did. They traded Columbus Day to get off the second day after Thanksgiving. You want to take that day away? Oh, no, I'm just going to rename it for you. We just want to rename it to a truth. Please let us have that. Let's be polite about it, but please let us have that. We did not earn it. It's just correcting the untruth. As for the banks, I don't really, their world is not necessarily from our platform. Be nice to have them, but then again, you start speaking that, and it's like, there you go. But I would tell you this, that one of our major sponsors was bank. Yeah, hidden, anonymous. Yeah, and soliciting your funding. They want to go anonymous? Oh, please do. If you feel that strongly about donating monies and want to be anonymous, oh, please do. Just make sure that you do your research and who they are, who their bank board of directors are, where their money comes from, because that money is spending your movement, your campaign. Got to be careful there. You don't want to take money from, I'm not going to say no names. You just don't want to take no names or no money from people that don't have your interest best at heart.
Were there specific organizations that were stronger in their opinion of dissent?
The Knights of Columbus. Oh my goodness. And they're all well-to-do people. They didn't just stand there and voice their discontent mildly or vociferously. They were very adamant, and they jumped up and down about it. They raised their hands and they cussed us out while we were doing those street campaigns. They cussed us out. They called us dirty names. Because that's what they had to resort to refer to. You dirty effing Indian. No, actually, I'm Portuguese. Had a lot of people on the team that were different races, different cultures. You got to stay in that culture paradigm. Because it's a shareable thing. It's a powerful thing to know who you are, to where you come from. It is.
You said you had like 80 to start with. Were they like, how were you able to like mobilize like high school students, college students, tribal people? Then second part is like, how did you like use social media and regular media to kind of advance your cause?
Oh, heck yeah. That's one thing that's probably primary. I probably should mention too. Thank you for that. Social media, Facebook. Put your Facebook right up there. Indigenous People Day, Shasta County, let's do this. Yes. Be proud of that. You're right. You're correct in you directing those untruths of history. Don't be ashamed. Don't be quiet, because quiet's not going to get it passed. You want to hear their argument. You want to hear everybody's argument. You want to be prepared. You want to know and be able to teach them the right truths. As for getting high school students involved, I didn't have to ask. They came on board. I tried to stay away from them because they're minors. And then on our petitions for the community of Bozeman, you had to be 18 and older to sign. But I had so many young people out there just trying to, talk from their own platform why Christopher Columbus should not be a holiday. As for the university students, I didn't meet that much dissension from them personally, but I know our group did. We have border towns in Montana where their learning, like I said, is very dualistic. It's a black and white world. What their parents taught them is all they know, all they want to know until they get educated a little bit. And then maybe they might change their mind. Well, usually by the time they get educated enough to know that Christopher Columbus is not really exactly a hero, they kind of come around. University students weren't so hard. Organizations such as the Knights of Columbus, certain religious sects, there were a little dissension in that. How do we motivate them? It didn't need much. The reward system of pizza and soda pop worked pretty good. All right, anybody else? One last question? Okay, I have a question for you. Who's going to all take this home with them and build their campaign for their communities or community? Because you don't want to just do it here in Redding. You want to go home and do this in your own community. You want to be the voice that makes this change. Who's going to do it? Right on. I have hope and I have belief. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you all for coming, and I think I have almost everyone's email here, but if I don't, and you want to be on our email list, come up and give it to me. Thanks for coming, and we got to get out of here. The library people are going to be mad at us very soon.